Can you apply the lessons from the book Atomic Habits to how you run your business? The answer is yes. In this video, I'm going to show you how Atomic Habits can remove all the barriers that have been stopping faster growth of your business, which habits to change, how to actually change your habits the Atomic Habits way in 4 easy steps, and the 6 common mistakes that most people make when they're trying to apply Atomic Habits and how you can avoid them. Why listen to me? Well, my job is to help business owners to develop new habits to grow their business. I've got a medical degree and a master's in psychological medicine, and I've spent 15 years studying the science and application of habits. Now, this video is not going to be a superficial summary of the book. I want to take you deep into the step-by-step process for actually introducing Atomic Habits into how you run your business. I do this every day with clients, so this will be actionable advice from real lived experiences. Part 1. How can Atomic Habits transform the way you run your business? Let me ask you a question. Think of someone whose business is doing 2x the profit that yours is. You may know someone like this, or you can just imagine them. But the question is, are they doing the same things as you day in and day out? What you'll find is they may be doing some things that you're not, that contribute to their better performance. But equally, they may not be doing some things that you are, that also contribute to their better performance. And you may find that sometimes they may be doing exactly what you're doing, but more consistently. For example, they may be learning faster than you. They may be implementing things faster than you in the business. They may have more personal energy than you. They may have less hesitation to take action, and so they get out of their comfort zone more readily. They may be more efficient with their time so that they get more done. They may have less downtime so there's no weeks where nothing gets done. And they may be less distracted and able to focus more. It's not hard to imagine someone like this with all of these attributes outperforming you. Actually, let's be honest, they'd wipe the floor with you. But if someone handed you a piece of paper with a list of everything you could improve to be more like them, could you wake up tomorrow and do it? The answer is no. But why is that? It's because of habits. You have an ingrained way of doing things, and it's very hard to shift that overnight. But we can use the principles of Atomic Habits to develop the habits that replicate business owners who are doing better than you. Now, people who don't do this, business owners who just go about their way without worrying about things like this, of course life goes on. But they waste time, they feel stressed, they don't feel in control, they struggle to do new initiatives like new lead gen channels because they can't get out of their comfort zone. Or if they are able to do it, they're inconsistent once they start. And this inconsistency leads to a feeling of feast or famine in the business. The beauty of Atomic Habits is, instead of being at the mercy of your past programming, you can deliberately, consciously, and methodically choose new habits to create a different future for you and your business. Secondly, habits, once changed, can last forever. I often say to clients, it's like an investment that keeps paying out for the rest of your life. And thirdly, habits are resilient. When people get stressed, they fall back on their habits. So even when things are falling apart, if you're invested in creating good habits, it's almost like an insurance policy on your business. You'll fall back on those habits. So just to reiterate, the beauty of habits: firstly, it gives you control over your destiny. Secondly, they're permanent. Once created, they can last forever. And thirdly, they add to resilience for you and your business. Because when things fall apart, you fall back onto your habits. Part 2. Which habits should you change? Of course, this varies depending on the person, but I found the following framework to be a very useful way of looking at it. Firstly, start with choosing just one habit to change. Choose the one habit that will have the biggest impact on your business. In fact, when I have an initial session with a client, this is what we do. We focus on finding that one habit that will have the biggest impact on their business. But the question is, how do you know which one that is? And I would say to you, think about your business. Think about what's the weak link. What is preventing your business from moving to that next level? And always relate it back to yourself. Because when you think about your business, it almost always comes back to the owner. Remember, the buck stops here. So think about, are there things that you should be doing? And are there things that you shouldn't be doing? And is there a problem with consistency? So let's talk about some of the possible habits that you can develop. And as I talk about these different habits, think about which ones apply to you. The first area is personal effectiveness. And let's talk about energy. Do you have the energy to work solidly throughout the day and the week? Or are you constantly tired or even exhausted? If you are constantly tired, this points in the direction of creating habits related to boosting energy levels. An example of these are sleep habits, exercise habits, and rest and recovery habits. The second area in personal effectiveness is time. Do you have enough time to get everything done? Remember, there are almost certainly people who have the same number of hours in the day who are getting more done in that time. So if this is an issue for you, this points in the direction of developing time management habits. For example, task prioritization, eliminating unnecessary tasks, and the other example is delegation, getting into good habits of delegation. And the third area of personal effectiveness is focus. Are you able to focus without distraction? Are you able to do deep work? And I'm always reminded of the movie Limitless, where the main character is given an experimental pharmaceutical drug that gives him extraordinary levels of focus and memory and learning, problem solving, and how that's able to change his life. So I often say to clients, being able to focus is like a superpower. And if this is an issue for you, develop the habit of being able to focus. And with clients, we often focus on the limitless habit. Second area of habits is implementing. And let's talk about getting out of your comfort zone. With some business owners, if they're starting a new lead gen channel and there are tasks that need to be done, but they feel a little bit uncomfortable about them because they're out of their comfort zone, they have a very interesting strategy for how they implement these particular tasks. They just don't do them. They avoid it, they procrastinate. And of course, this has a negative effect on the business because what needs to get done isn't. There are ways to deal with this that don't involve saying to yourself, just do it, which is the usual advice. Second area of implementing is avoiding task overwhelm. So this is where you have a to-do list and there are so many items on it, you feel completely overwhelmed and end up avoiding. Habits relate to to-do list management and how you break down tasks. And the third area of implementing is iteration habits. So this is a bit of a generalization, but almost everything, if not everything, of value in business, in any business, is created from trial and error. It's very unusual to come up with a plan and it's perfect immediately. So we need to go through the iteration cycle of trying something, seeing if it worked, adjusting it, then trying again, seeing if it worked, ongoing. And this is how you come up with things that work. If you have a habit of doing this regularly, this iteration cycle, you will be iterating a lot quicker than other people. As Naval Ravikant said, it isn't 10,000 hours that creates outliers, it's 10,000 iterations. So it's not about time, it's about how often you iterate. More iterations means faster results. The fourth area of implementing is communication habits. So improving the quality and the regularity of staff communication, which improves staff retention, improving how often and how well you communicate with clients, which improves client retention, and how often and how well you communicate with leads, which comes down to follow-up. And the final area is keeping up to date. So in this world where things are just moving so quickly, if you fail to keep up to date, your business will be rendered obsolete, perhaps sometimes even overnight. So it's something you need to do. The survival of your business is at stake. And the third area of habits is balance. So this is about things like maintaining your mood, maintaining your motivation, minimizing stress, and avoiding burnout. You might be surprised to know how many business owners I meet who waste entire weeks, sometimes even longer, where nothing or very little gets done in the business because of their own personal stress or overwhelm. So just to repeat, those three areas are personal effectiveness, implementation, and balance. Improving habits in all of these three areas can mean you get more done in less time with less stress. Part 3, 4 steps to habit change, and we're going to do this atomic habit style. So I want to introduce you to a hypothetical business owner. His name is Jeff, and Jeff wants to stay up to date. He realizes how important this is. And he reads an article about Warren Buffett, and in that article, the quote is, Warren Buffett pulled out a stack of papers and trade reports he had brought with him and said, read 500 pages like this every day. So Jeff decides, I'm going to read more. But then 3 weeks later, he's done nothing. What was the problem here? It was because he said, I'm going to read more. And that's just too vague. It's not specific enough. And there's no habit created around it. You need to be specific, and you need to think about a habit that you want to create. So instead of I'm going to read more, Jeff decides I'm going to read 100 pages a day. And here are other examples of specific goals. I will go for a walk each day. I will meditate each day. I will meet with my key staff members each day. I will have a date night every week. I will review my paid ads each morning. Even with these specific examples, they can be even more specific because we can talk about how long you're going to do these things for, but we're going to get to that. Now that we have a specific habit that we want to develop, let's work through the Atomic Habits 4-step plan for creating any habit that lasts. There are 4 stages of any habit. There's the cue, otherwise known as the trigger or the prompt to do the habit or do the behavior. There's the craving, which is the desire to do the behavior. There's the action itself, which is the behavior that becomes the habit. And then there's a reward that you get for doing the behavior. So with the cue, James Clear's 4-step process is make it obvious. Then with the craving, make it attractive. With the action, make it easy. And with the reward, make it satisfying. This is the 4-step process that's in Atomic Habits. Step 1 then, make it obvious. This is about creating a proper cue or trigger for the behavior. Without a trigger, you'll simply forget to do the new behavior. And how many times have you decided, I want to create a new habit, then you've got to the end of the week and thought, I forgot to do it every single day. The best trigger I've found, and this is mentioned in the book as well, is attaching the behavior to something you're already doing regularly. In this hypothetical case, Jeff is going to make his trigger when he sits down at his desk first thing in the morning. Other good triggers are first thing upon waking, when you walk into the kitchen in the morning for the first time, after a workout if you do that regularly, just before finishing work for the day, or before bed. So these are all things that you can rely on to regularly happen. I use my morning meditation as my most reliable trigger since I know that happens every morning. Step 2, make it attractive. How can Jeff make the habit more attractive so that he feels compelled to do the habit? He could get a cup of coffee to sit down and have it while working on his new habit, so he can associate his morning coffee, which he enjoys, with the new habit. An alternative is he can have a particular music track that he likes that he can listen to while doing the habit, and he only listens to that track when he's doing the habit. Another example is he could think about all the benefits that will arise from doing the habit. Another thing to do is to choose an attractive location where you're always going to do the habit. So maybe a nice coffee shop or near a scenic waterfall if he has access to one of those. Step 3 is make it easy. So remember, Jeff wants to read more. And his target, his habit that he wants to develop is, I'm going to read 100 pages a day. So the next day, Jeff sits down to read 100 pages. But it's tough. It's painful. And a few moments later, he's checking Instagram. What happens tomorrow? He's probably going to say, I'm too busy to do it today because I'd rather watch grass grow than do the reading. And a few weeks later, he's done no reading. What happened here? Jeff made the mistake of thinking that if you're going to develop a certain habit, you have to start at full speed. But think about the practicality of suddenly doing 100 pages of reading a day. Jeff's schedule isn't prepared for it. Think about how hard it is to make time on your schedule for 100 pages of reading. That could take 2 to 3 hours. If you haven't done it before, you're going to have to find 2 to 3 hours in your schedule that wasn't there before. Also, Jeff's powers of concentration aren't prepared for it. It's hard to concentrate for that long if you haven't done it before. It's painful. So in short, Jeff tried to do too much too soon. Instead, he should follow step 3 of Atomic Habits, which is make it easy. Firstly, don't create a target that is too overwhelming. Think big, but start small. You need to work your way up to the eventual goal. James Clear talks about the 2-minute rule. Make the new habit take less than 2 minutes. I always suggest to clients start off with something as low as 30 seconds. So instead of 100 pages a day, Jeff should start off with a goal of just reading 100 words per day, which might take between 30 seconds or maybe a minute. 100 words seems ridiculously low compared to 100 pages. But that's the point. Because yes, it is ridiculous, but you know what else it is? It's doable. Jeff will definitely be able to read 100 words a day. So Jeff should be able to repeat that regularly, and as he repeats it more and more, he develops the habit. There's a great line from Atomic Habits. If you want to master a habit, the key is to start with repetition, not perfection. What's most important with a new habit is not how much you do, but whether you do it consistently. If Jeff can do 100 words each time and it becomes a habit, then he can ramp it up from there. Step 4 of Atomic Habits, make it satisfying. You want to finish the habit with a good feeling because that will make you more likely to do it next time. Satisfying can be as simple as congratulating yourself for doing the habit. This is what BJ Fogg in his book Tiny Habits suggests. Alternatively, maybe you can give yourself a reward like going for a walk, talking to a friend, watching something on YouTube. You'll know what works best for you, but make sure the reward doesn't contradict the habit. So for example, if you're going for a run to manage your weight and be healthy, don't reward yourself with having 5 cookies. Or if you're trying to focus more, don't make the reward for focusing for 10 minutes checking social media for an hour. So let's review what Jeff has done so far. He's been specific about the habit he wants to create, which is reading 100 pages every day. Then he's followed the 4-step Atomic Habit routine. Step 1, he's created a trigger so that when he sits down at his desk to work in the morning, that's the trigger to do the reading. Step 2, he's made it attractive by having a coffee while reading, his morning coffee. So he associates doing the reading with the already enjoyable aspect of having his morning coffee. Step 3, he's made it easy by starting at just 100 words of reading per day. And step 4, he's made it satisfying by congratulating himself even after just reading the 100 words a day for less than a minute. The next step is to ramp it up. As he gets consistent and confident with reading 100 words a day, he should increase it, but not too fast, maybe 200 words a day. Then, if he feels confident with that, he can ramp it up. So from 200 to 300, 500, all the way up to 100 pages, even 500 pages. But always remember, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. The fastest way to get to 100 pages a day is to ramp it up slowly. Because if you go too fast, you'll break the whole thing and never get there. For example, Jeff is confidently doing 200 words a day and then thinks, screw this, I'm going to do 100 pages a day now. But he will just revisit the same problems we talked about earlier. Too much too soon. He'll get discouraged and give up. And what does give up mean? That means 0 pages a day. So ramp it up, but just take it slow. Part 4. 6 biggest mistakes people make when creating or changing habits. Mistake 1. Expecting perfection straight away. The expectation is that I will start the habit and it will all go smoothly. But the reality is you'll make lots of mistakes and things will go wrong. So start the habit process expecting problems with the trigger so that even though you've thought of a trigger, it doesn't work and so you forget to do the habit. Expect to have problems with that. Expect to have problems with the behavior where it's not quite the right behavior, it doesn't do what you wanted it to do, or it's unpleasant. And also expect that things will get in the way. So you may have to go away on travel, go away on vacation, you may get ill, and these will interrupt with your implementation of the habit. But expect that. It's okay. It happens. Just get back on track. Mistake 2. Mistake 2 is the one most commonly associated with the make it easy step, step 3 in Atomic Habits, where you're starting small. And the mistake is, unsurprisingly, not allowing yourself to start small. Giving yourself a hard time because you're only doing 100 words of reading when you think you should be doing more. But it's important to remember that your chances of getting to 100 pages a day is greatly increased if you start at 100 words a day. Slow is smooth and smooth is fast, because people who start at 100 pages a day, they get overwhelmed and end up giving up. Mistake 3. This is something that is the opposite to what everyone believes about behavior and habit change, but I assure you, if you follow this advice, it will make you much more likely to succeed. It's something I say to clients all the time, probably to the point that they're sick of hearing it. But if creating habits feels like a struggle, you're doing it wrong. I'll say that again. If creating habits feels like a struggle, you're doing it wrong. Because if you take the right approach, starting small and taking it gently, it should never feel difficult. Think of someone who's starting meditation. I would recommend them to start doing 10 seconds of meditation. That's all, just 10 seconds. Start with that. How hard is it to do 10 seconds of meditation, even if you've never done it before? It's so easy, and it should remain easy throughout. Even as you ramp it up to higher and higher levels, don't increase it beyond where it feels easy to do. Remember, the more difficult it is, the more likely it will fail, so make it easy. Mistake 4. This mistake is one that is probably the number one reason people give up on habit-changing efforts. So let me ask you this. Would you put work into something knowing that it isn't going to make any difference to your results? It's difficult to say yes to that question because it so obviously seems like a waste of time if you're not seeing results. Most of us consciously and subconsciously feel that work today should lead to immediate payoffs or the time has been wasted. If we don't get those payoffs, it's very difficult to keep going. And yet, with most habits, this is exactly how it feels. It takes time for habits to kick in, and for a large amount of time, it feels like the work you're doing is achieving nothing. James Clear calls it the valley of disappointment. And if you look at this graph, you can see that straight upward line is what you think should happen, where you put in the time and you get the results, proportionate to the time and the effort you put in. But what actually happens is that upward sloping curve, which starts off lower, and so there's a gap between what you think should happen and what actually happens. That's the valley of disappointment. And it's so easy to quit during this time. I've done it many times in the past, looking back with hindsight. And so when you're changing habits, realize that this valley of disappointment exists, that it happens, and that it will feel like you're getting nowhere, and that you need to prepare for this and have a plan for keeping on going regardless. And this is where accountability and support can really make the difference. And so let's go to the 5th mistake, which is especially relevant if you're trying to stop bad habits. Mistake 5. Most people, when they're trying to stop bad habits, they think, well, externally I'm surrounded by bad influences, so internally I'm going to use my willpower to resist. But what they should do is remove the bad influences that are external, the trigger, so that internally you don't even need to use willpower to resist. So for instance, let's say you wanted to stop checking your phone while working. So the old way is that the phone is sitting next to you and it's giving you notifications and it's buzzing, it's trying to get your attention, and you think, I will use my willpower to resist checking my phone. But the new way is, the phone is in the other room, so I don't even need to use willpower to resist. As I say to clients, it's very difficult to use the phone if it's not there. And to quote Sun Tzu in The Art of War, don't try and win 100 battles, as in the 100 battles of willpower, but instead subdue the enemy without fighting, by removing the temptation to begin with. Mistake 6. Not going fast or far enough. You may be able to create a habit, but the issue is that sometimes you can get stuck at a low level and not increase the level that you're doing, or that you don't add more habits. It's way too easy to coast and to stagnate, which means wasted time and also wasted potential. So getting back to Jeff, who wants to read more, he could easily get stuck at reading a page a day and then never progressing past that. Or he could develop some kind of reading habit, but never add to that. Because you can use the momentum of creating a new habit to build new habits. And I believe that to not do this is a waste. I believe in creating a habit stack, and I define this as a collection of deliberately chosen habits that build on each other. Imagine adding one habit that has a huge impact on your life. Then imagine adding another on top of that, and then another, and then another. Remember this person from the beginning of the video. They were learning faster than you. They were implementing faster than you. They were taking action more readily and getting out of their comfort zone. They had more personal energy than you. They were more efficient with their time, so they were getting more done. They had less downtime, and they were more able to focus. They were kicking your butt. But if you're able to create habit after habit in all of those areas, you'll soon catch up and overtake them. Keep improving, keep getting better, keep building habits so that you can be the best version of yourself. Any goals that you desire, if you embark on this path of continuous improvement, you will achieve them. It will happen as a byproduct of creating an ever-improving habit stack. And if you'd like my help to create new habits or even a habit stack, check out the link in the description below. And I'll hopefully speak with you soon.